So Lexi Hull may have blown up Caitlin Clark's spot. Hull was on a podcast and shared a story, what she considered a funny story, between Caitlin Clark and Christy Sides, head coach Christy Sides. One that I'm not sure Caitlin Clark would have wanted shared publicly. Now, maybe it's a moot point because Christy Sides is out the door, so it doesn't really matter anymore, and there's no facade to be put on. But, Hull basically said that Christy Sides was playing music very loud to try to simulate a hostile road environment. Caitlin Clark did not like it, said to turn the music down or something to that effect. Then Christy Sides said, "What did you say?" And Caitlin Clark repeated it, not afraid to challenge back her head coach or her now former head coach. And maybe a story or an anecdote like this is one of the reasons Christy Sides is the former head coach, because Clark didn't exactly respect those tactics. Here's what Lexi Hull had to say. She was a guest on the Ringer WNBA show, and this was the section from that podcast.
Of the group.
Do you have a favorite Caitlin practice story?
Yeah, I do. There was one practice, Christy turns on loud music because I can't remember where we were going, but we knew the arena was going to be loud. And so she turns on this loud music, and Caitlin screams. She's like, "Can someone turn it off? It's giving me a migraine." And everyone's like, what? And Christy reacted and said, "What did you say?" And she repeated it. And all of us were we were all dying, because if I would have said that, if anyone on our team would have said that and then been asked, "What did you say?" and you repeat it, no one else is repeating it, but she did. And it was the funniest thing. We're all rolling on the ground laughing. But no, she's great. There's a lot.
So that's what happens when you're Caitlin Clark and you are the franchise and you are the superstar and you are the face of the league. Not to say that she meant any disrespect by it, but to be able to repeat it shows you she knows where she falls in the hierarchy and in the pecking order, and her own gravitas, in the respects to the situation. When she said the migraine, that is an interesting thing, though, because Caitlin Clark does suffer from migraines and did suffer from migraines during her rookie season with the Indiana Fever. So that's not something out of nowhere, where it could be something that bothered her. And I don't know how migraines work. Fortunately, I've never actually had one, but I hear they're debilitating. So perhaps, it's a preventative measure from Caitlin Clark. Maybe she didn't like the music that Coach Christy Sides was playing, or whatever it was. Perhaps it was not Taylor Swift. We know Taylor Swift is heading to Indianapolis, and Caitlin Clark is likely going to be in attendance there. There was also the ruptured eardrum that Caitlin Clark suffered. I don't know how that factors into the migraines and their frequency or anything like that. And I also don't know the timing of this story. That happened. It was the 11th game in 20 days. It was the Liberty game when that happened. Before, this was before the Olympic break and everything like that. It was Clark's worst game of the season. She hit that Jonquel Jones screen and she ruptured her eardrum. Again, I have no idea if this story happened around that timing, but the timing of the story itself is amusing, considering Christy Sides was just ousted. We've long speculated that Clark and Sides maybe didn't have the best relationship, and I've said if Clark wanted Sides to stick around, she would still be the coach, right? And this is the type of story or anecdote that lets you know that Clark was the heavy in that situation, not the now former Fever coach.